Coming to you from the Strings and Things studio in Ventura, California, this is the Strings Unraveled Book Club.
All right. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about an excellent book by Stacey Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
I want to read everything by her.
I do too, but in Audible only this and her 2 nonfiction books are available.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll have to read them like real.
Yeah.
So this is a political thriller, which is a genre I don't read that often, but have read because everybody's read some John Grisham, right?
I have not. I don't think I've ever read any political thriller.
Oh. Well, this is a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Because it's better than any of the ones I have read. But
yeah, John Grisham is hit or miss. Sometimes they're really great, and other times they're just like snooze fest.
Yeah. And maybe that's when I turned it off because I probably picked up one. I think
sometimes he gets way too technical, and he goes down some technical thread, and then you totally lose interest in the story.
I couldn't finish The Juror. That was the last one that I tried to read, but like Pelican Brief, A Time to Kill, which is
his early work.
It's great. The Rainmaker, also riveting tale. A Time to Kill is classic. But The Rainmaker has Matt Damon in it.
In the book?
Well, because you see the movie.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen the Pelican Brief. That's a movie, right? I've seen that.
That one I didn't like as much. But it's because it's like when I wouldn't be that interested in it. Like, because I was so much younger when that movie came out. I should give it another try.
Well, what's the name of the book we're talking about? I don't think we've said what it is.
Anyway, political thrillers are great, if that's your bag. This is Well Justice Sleeps by Stacey Abrams.
I didn't know anything about her until you suggested that. I knew she was a senator from Georgia.
You'd heard of her, I'm sure, right?
Briefly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, she is a serious mover and shaker of our time.
Yep.
One to look out for. I will read about the author just because if you don't know who she is, you should. So this is a brief about the author. I think it's kind of her usual bio that you can find pretty much everywhere. Stacey Abrams is the 2-time New York Times best-selling author of Our Time Is Now and Lead from the Outside, which are her 2 nonfiction books, an entrepreneur and a political leader. A tax attorney by training, she served 11 years in the Georgia House of Representatives, 7 as minority leader, and became the 2018 Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia, where she won more votes than any other Democrat in the state's history. She has launched multiple organizations devoted to voting rights, training and hiring young people of color, and tackling social issues at the state, national, and international levels. She is the founder of Fair Fight, Fair Count, and the Southern Economic Advancement Project. Abrams is a lifetime member of the Council on Foreign Relations and sits on the advisory board of Climate Power 2020 and the advocacy board for Women's National Basketball Players Association. She has received degrees from Spelman College, the LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas, and Yale Law School. She's only a little accomplished, eh?
Yeah, she's incredible.
My goodness. Now, for the synopsis of the book.
I'd love to hear her speak, actually. If you see snippets of her speaking, it's just so impactful.
I want Stacey Abrams. I mean, I want Kamala to have her time, so 24, 28. Stacey Abrams, 2032.
Yeah. Sure, that sounds great.
Kamala, call her for your VP. Is the country ready for a all-women ticket?
I say yes.
So here is the synopsis here of the book. Avery Keene, a brilliant young law clerk for the legendary Justice Howard Wynne, is doing her best to hold her life together, excelling in an arduous job with the court while also dealing with a troubled family. When the shocking news breaks that Justice Wynne, the cantankerous swing vote on many current high-profile cases, has slipped into a coma, Avery's life turns upside down. She is immediately notified that Justice Wynne has left instructions for her to serve as his legal guardian and power of attorney. plunge into an explosive role she never anticipated, Avery finds that Justice Wynn had been secretly researching one of the most controversial cases before the court, a proposed merger between an American biotech firm and an Indian genetics firm, which promises to unleash breathtaking results in the medical field. She also discovers that Wynn suspected a dangerously related conspiracy that infiltrates the highest power corridors of Washington. As political wrangling ensues in Washington to potentially replace the ailing judge whose life and survival Avery controls, she begins to unravel a carefully constructed, chess-like sequence of clues left behind by Wynn. She comes to see that Wynn had a much more personal stake in the controversial case and realizes his complex puzzle will lead her directly into harm's way in order to find the truth. While Justice Sleeps is a cunningly crafted, sophisticated novel layered with a myriad of twists and a vibrant cast of characters. Drawing on her astute inside knowledge of the court and political landscape, Stacey Abrams shows herself to be not only a force for good in politics and voter fairness, but also a major new talent in suspense fiction. Yeah. I like this book a lot.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't like it as much, and I just don't think
That's okay.
I don't think that political thriller is my genre. And I thought
romance novels, so you can
yes,
try
I definitely need to read her romance novels. That is up my alley. It was extremely well written, and I'm really excited to read more from her. But I had a hard time keeping up with what was going on some of the time, because it was maybe it was just me. It got a little convoluted in some points where I was like, I'm just gonna keep listening and hope that it makes sense
so many
to me
threads
later.
to follow.
Around
I loved it.
Chapter 30, it started to get kind of dense.
Yes.
In what they were unraveling.
Exactly.
And
I
that's
was like,
where
I'm just praying it's gonna all make sense to me at the end.
That's what I was trying to power through last night.
Yeah.
That's where my
when
brain
it got
was
really
like,
dense.
I can see this connection and that connection, but that might be the math brain. I don't know.
It was fun. It was like a tangled web.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was so tangled. It was elusive. Like, you don't know exactly.
You can tell she's right on
who the players
verge.
are, who the good guys are, which there aren't like
very many.
Really any. I mean, except for her.
I don't think it was tangled, but there were a lot of threads to keep track of.
Yes. Yeah.
I did like that
where'd that ball go rolling?
Yeah, exactly.
There's some characters that initially I felt like, oh, he's the villain, and you find out, well, he's kind of a villain, but he's not.
He's also the villain. That's how I felt.
Oh, and there's another one.
No, there's another, but he wasn't as. Somehow he was a good guy, but a bad guy. But he was, money.
Yeah.
Well, I think
money motivated, which is like all
of
it is.
I think that's so important to the lens of this book is like, people are just self-motivated. Like, everybody has this drive of what they want from the situation, and some are altruistic and some are not.
Sure.
Okay, the length that some will go to get there. The drive is scary because of the power that they wield.
That part's not unrealistic to me. Like, this is happening.
That's the scary part.
I was talking to my mom about this today. We were talking about, I don't remember what, some reading the news or whatever, and how what you hear on the news. But I was like, now I'm like paranoid. Not that I wasn't like wary before, but now I'm like, it makes me uncomfortable to think Stacey Abrams knows what she's talking about.
Right?
So I'm sure it's just, maybe not as dramatic, but
right.
But
it's not far-fetched.
Yeah.
Like, to me, everything in this book was plausible in reality.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that might just be because I'm an X-Files kid, but it's all plausible to me. Like,
you don't have to be a government conspiracy theorist to know that.
Well, some people just solve their problems by killing people and by discrediting them. Mm-hmm. My mom had a friend in Santa Clarita who...
Friend in quotation marks?
No, real friend.
Oh,
super
okay.
close friend.
Okay.
And they were working to kind of unearth some misappropriation of funds in the school district in Santa Clarita. I won't reveal the level of the school district. That'll keep it secret.
Okay.
Anyway, he was in this very tenuous position, and he died in a car accident.
Oh.
And everybody was like, do you think that his boss had him killed?
Oh gosh.
So like, how
'Cause
scary is it to work in
because
an
you think-
environment where
you
that's
think how
everybody's...
convenient that was. that
Yeah.
Now the problem's gone away.
Right.
Yeah.
It turned out he had a heart attack, which could have just been, and then had a car accident.
Yeah, but now you don't know if it really was a heart attack or if they injected him with something that made it look like a heart
or
attack.
if somebody drove him off, because the way he crashed,
Right.
it could have been someone driving him off the road, which wouldn't that cause a heart attack if
Yeah,
you have
right.
a stressed heart?
Mhm.
It's like, what thing happened first?
Yeah.
The heart attack or the car crash? And it's scary to think that
that's a
you
plausible
would be
thing.
working in an environment where that could be the outcome, because
That could be a viable question that people
right.
ask. Yeah.
And then you keep going to work there.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
So this book is very new. It just came out last month. So there are not specific book club questions for it.
I was looking. It's kind of hard to find.
Yeah, so I don't recognize this per se as a generic list we've used, but I think I'm going to keep it around
Yeah, I was
just in
gonna
case.
say keep it on hand.
Yeah. So what did you like best about this book?
You're kind of just like chucked into it, so
Yeah.
you didn't get a lot of time to learn about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say I was really like connecting with any of the characters that much, because you also don't have time to really flesh anybody out. Like, you get a little bit from some people, but like you're jumping right into all this action, so you don't know a whole lot about their like character personality, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you dove in the pool with them and you're swimming next to them
Yes.
immediately.
And you're seeing how they react. And
But I see that being intentional, because now you are feeling the anxiety that she is feeling because she's gotten thrust into this very uncomfortable thing. Between, I mean, she thought the guy hated her or just barely tolerated her, and now she's put into this position of power, and everybody's accusing her of, and she's like just trying to get her head around the idea of what had just happened to her.
Well, a lot of the characters are kind of like, we're only seeing one dimension of them, but but artfully we do learn more about the characters that we need to know more about. Like, Avery gets fully fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
Jared gets
not
as well, but pretty well.
Yeah.
Well enough to care that he kissed her. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, I was like, "Oh," and then I'm like, "Stacey got me with the romance. I gotta read the other books." So.
I was hoping that she would take us there, because he sounded pretty hot.
Her other two romance novels are written under an alias, so I wonder if they're on Audible, but with her like.
I did not know that.
I'd have to
yes.
look it.
I looked it up once and then I forgot about it.
All right, that might be why. Because I'm like, they've been around for some time.
Yeah, they might be just under a different name.
It makes you wonder. I wonder if she did it as an alias because she wanted to write those, but to be taken seriously as a
pen
political
name,
person,
it could go either
you need
direction. Like, my sister uses a pen name because sometimes you want work to stand on its own and not get attached to whatever, like, your literary experiences or literary reputation as well.
Yeah, I just wonder if she didn't want it to affect her political
I don't know
side.
Yeah.
She's super smart.
There's like 5 of them.
Ooh.
If it's the same Selena Montgomery as I'm
That's
assuming
the name.
it is.
That's the name.
Also,
yes.
Also, I mean, Stacey is actually like it's a unisex name,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a very like square, strong name. But say that pen name again.
Selena Montgomery.
Like that's
a romance novel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the covers of those books?
No, show me a cover.
Oh.
They're not that. This is a picture.
No, the covers I saw was
That's a picture of a roof.
Yeah.
No, the ones I saw were
The ones on Audible are not that exciting.
No.
But...
the ones on Kindle are like very romance flamboyant.
Okay.
Cool.
You know, the black woman, and he's clutching at her shoulders, and the wind's blowing at her dress. Yeah,
classic.
Yep.
Classic. Which I'm not a romance novel one. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, wait, maybe that's not for me.
Stacey's gonna take us there.
That's
bring us
true.
to the
It's
dark
Next time
side.
it's my turn to pick. I'm picking a cheesy romance novel.
All right.
And y'all are gonna have to
All
read
right.
it.
All right.
I wanted to say that had this book been written from like first person perspective, you obviously would have gotten more like internal dialogue, and you get a decent amount of that just from the way it's written. But I kind of wish we could have heard from like what's her name?
Avery,
like from her perspective sometimes, you know?
Yeah. But we didn't answer what we like best.
Oh yeah, sorry.
One sentence. What do you like best? Karin, go.
Don't make me first. I gotta think about it.
All right, Kaity, go.
I mean, I kind of liked learning about, like, the workings of the court and stuff, because that's not something that I really know a whole lot about, like, you know, general knowledge.
Yes.
So I kind of liked seeing, like, the inside look as to, like, how that kind of stuff works, and, like, perspectives of people in that, you know, sort of political realm. So I like that.
I agree. That's actually my favorite thing too, because I was ignorant of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of fun that we're like living in the same calendar days almost as
Yes.
the book.
Yeah. It's very contemporary.
Literally.
Yep. It's like June 13th, whatever. Yeah.
I actually have something I like a little better than that.
Okay.
Which is a shitty president going to jail.
Oh yeah. Although they're like, he's not going to go to jail for like a couple decades, and you're like,
but here's how he killed the other president.
Oh,
I think he's going soon.
True. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. He did kill his predecessor. That was good. I knew that was coming.
Right.
Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, the other president died, and now I'm the president now. And I thought, this guy's a bad guy. I wonder if he killed him. And then at the end I was like,
yep.
Yes. That's exactly what happened.
I liked all the little threads, and the more things she unraveled. I know it got confusing to keep track of, but I live for those kind of things.
I don't know if it was confusing. You just had to pay attention.
I loved all the little plots, twists, and the way she kind of wove them together.
So the artful crafting of the book.
Yes.
Well, I think we kind of talked a little bit about liking least, like the density, as those threads have to be unraveled, would be where.
Yeah. It kind of felt like a slog at some point to get through all of this information that they needed to get through.
Yeah.
So I would think I listened to it at like 1.5 speed, because I was like, I gotta get through this.
The one thread I struggled to try to connect with was, and I think it was just because of my lack of understanding, is in the beginning they kept introducing the dialogue between these the companies in India and their panic about things, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting that, but I'm just gonna hold tight because maybe
that meant to be a little bit like cloudy.
Yeah. Because you don't know what's going on.
But they have to. But she has to introduce it early enough for it to have any impact.
Just to tickle your brain.
That was one of the points where I was like, "Just keep going; it'll make sense later, Kaity."
Like we'll
get there.
Like I didn't understand. I thought Nigel Cooper was like a really, really, really evil bad guy that got people killed.
No, he's just a medium bad guy.
He's a rich person. Like,
yeah. He's your standard rich.
When he sent wires for the $500,000, like that's not gonna create any problems with her when she's under like extreme.
I think he like misunderstood that. Like that might not look so great. He's like, here you go, here's some money, help me out. And
rich people like, problems like. Because he doesn't think it'd be a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, people like her don't have that kind of money. Doesn't everybody have $500,000 just laying around?
Just to give away, it was a $20 bill.
Just a little gift, you know?
What other books did this remind you of? I think we really already delved into that John Grisham rabbit hole. Audible is recommending a lot of political themed books for me. I'm like,
Yeah, I liked it enough to finish it. I mean, I had to finish it for this. Yeah. But I think if I were reading it on my own, I think if I was reading it as like the physical copy, I probably wouldn't have gotten through it. But if I was listening to it on my own, not for this, I probably would have pushed through.
I like the narration on it. I thought I really appreciated most of the voices. Occasionally, I think the narrator, there's one or two voices in the beginning that kind of bugged me, but after a while I stopped paying attention, and then it's just...
Well, I wasn't, because I read most of the book from the physical book.
With your eyeballs.
And then it got down to the wire today, so I listened to the last quarter on extreme speed. So I was not doing Nigel Cooper with a Southern accent in my head.
And then you're like, wait a minute.
Oh, duh. Okay, yeah, that sounds right.
He was easy to tell apart, but like all of the other men
sounded
exactly the same. I'm like, that's a man. And sometimes when I was listening to it quickly, you would have two men speaking to each other, like Vance and Lee, and I'm like, wait, who, what, huh?
I opened the book to double check.
I was like, it's fine, you'll figure it out. You'll understand.
Yep.
This is something I would need to read again to really like grasp the fullness of it. I don't think I'm going to, but I could.
That's fair. Yeah. Which character did you like least? It's a hard to say if I like Vance less than I like the president.
Yeah, I also wasn't really a big fan of Wynn. You know, the justice who was in a coma the whole time because he seemed like a pretty major asshole, and she didn't ask for this. You know, because at one point I'm like, this is so rude. Like, why? She didn't. Yeah.
Okay, that brings me to an important PSA.
Okay.
The document that this book centers on, the advanced, she keeps calling it an advanced care directive. In California, it's called an advanced healthcare directive, and a durable power of attorney. These are documents that you should make. Like, you can download it off the internet.
Yeah.
You can download the advanced healthcare directive from the website of my other job. Just ask me how. So easy. Make it. It only has to be witnessed by 2 people or notarized. So if you don't want to bring a notary in, you witness it with 2 people. This document is very, very important. You do not need to make 28 codicils to go with it. Unless you are.
Okay.
Right?
Unless you're paranoid.
Unless you're creating this very intricate political intrigue.
Yeah.
But an advanced healthcare directive is very important. If you move states, you have to change it to the other state. So maybe that's why I'm so enamored of this book, is it centers on a document that makes my everyday turn.
I had some other question that I was like, I'll ask Anne, she'll know the answer, but I can't remember what it was at this point. It was something like that, and I was like, Anne will know, but I don't remember what it was.
Make your advanced healthcare directive, people. It's so easy, so easy. But the other part of that is you choose like maybe up to 3 agents. First and second agent are the same. They're equal in California, but you should tell those people
that you're going to
that.
Yeah, because he did not.
Them, right?
She wasn't prepared for this.
Please, at least tell the first agent.
Yeah.
Because it happens sometimes, like, a single person will pass away and they did all their paperwork, but they didn't tell the person they were putting in charge, and now it's just dropped in this person's lap.
Yeah.
It's not usually as dramatic as Avery's story.
Sure.
So my mom-in-law, technically my husband is has power of attorney in case of anything that happens, but
durable power of attorney.
Yes,
has to be durable.
Yes,
because it survives you after death.
It's written in by the lawyer. Okay. But she has told me he's not going to be able to handle it. You're going to have to do everything.
Are you second agent?
Not on paper.
Then she should fix that.
Yeah, if she expects you to do it, then
right, because you can. If she doesn't empower you, it doesn't matter.
I know, but I don't
Good
want.
luck.
I don't want her to empower me. Okay.
Okay. Well, then
I don't want that responsibility.
And then you'll be like, legally, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Sorry, Jen. It's out of my hands.
It's like
I can't do it.
This is why I am really making sure that my husband, you walk with your mom, you talk with your mom. Let's rebond that connection so that when something happens, you know what'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
off my soapbox.
I
love to get on soapbox.
That was a good one. Can I have a quick question?
Yes.
Of all the poor victims, which was the one that you had the most sympathy for?
Betty.
Yeah.
Wilma.
Betty.
Yeah,
Wilma.
Well, I guess her equally her poor dumb husband.
Oh, I know. He just died.
Make sure they never get there.
Got murdered, and I was like, oh no, Betty's husband. And I was like, I don't know.
We don't even know who he is. He's just this guy who just. Well, sorry, you were married to Betty. That's your
like. I make sure they don't get to Mexico. I'm like, no. Betty's husband.
I felt bad for the nurse.
Yeah,
but she
put herself in a bad situation.
She entered into a deal with the devil. Yeah.
Which was the guy who she was nursing. And Vance.
No, not him.
That's right, Vance.
He okay, so something I thought was really, really well done is in the chapter where she gets murdered, we don't know who it is.
True.
Like, you can guess.
Could have been any, but
Yeah, but like for sure I thought it was Vance, but I realized I don't know.
I just assumed it was somebody that the bad guy
had hired.
Yeah.
Because Vance seems like the kind of guy who would have a lackey of his own. He was like the president's lackey.
Ready to go.
Yeah, later they say, he's like, since I didn't use this since I was at Lewis's house. Something like that.
But he used it on Betty.
Yeah. Oh, poor Betty.
Poor Betty.
Yeah, Betty
Poor
is
Betty.
the one that I feel.
I think it's because her name was Betty.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, Betty. Like, if her name had been like,
She's trying to do the right thing.
Yeah,
I don't
right after, and good job following your instincts, lady. Right after that, I feel really bad for all the test subjects because they were treated like throwaway people.
Yeah.
It was lightly reassuring that their families got reimbursed, but
that was terrible.
Okay, but it goes to the question of other pharmaceutical companies, or do they do these same things?
Yeah.
They run this in other countries where they don't, we can cry out against China and how their human rights policies are horrible.
Yeah.
But what are we doing by supporting pharmaceutical companies in other countries because it's not happening on our soil, but we're funding it elsewhere somehow? That's okay.
We don't know.
Yeah. Was that plausible deniability?
Yeah.
But there are deals in, low income countries where people sell their bodies in different ways. Like they may pre-sell their organs, or some people sell their skeletons ahead of time for that which makes real skeletons. I don't know if that's fallen out of practice, but yeah, like if you have a real skeleton in your science classroom, that was a person, who probably couldn't feed their family.
We like to think that was just someone who donated their body to science afterwards.
It's not
but you
likely.
don't know that.
It's not likely.
Yeah.
It reminds me of in high school biology, we were in the gift class and we dissected cats, but it's illegal to kill cats in California for scientific purposes. So they would take them from North Carolina because it's okay to kill cats there for science. They just take them from the pound and then they ship them to California. So it's the same idea. You can't do it here, but you'll buy it from someplace that'll. I accidentally castrated my cat because I didn't know what it was. I was young.
Oh, like that cat, not the cat you have at home. Okay.
Oh no, I wouldn't do
responsible pet ownership. You should neuter, right?
Not self.
Yeah, no, you take it somewhere. There's people you can pay for that.
Not a DIY.
No. I don't believe in living taxidermy.
Oh my god!
Don't go down that rabbit hole. That's horrible.
That's a very good documentary, but very upsetting. Don't F with cats.
Yes.
That one's rough.
That's a real documentary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't
they
watched it.
kiboshed the serial killer. He did kill one person that they know of, but I won't go into the details. But because he was hurting animals, animal activists followed his breadcrumbs through the internet.
Wow.
And he was caught after, thankfully, only one murder. But he could have scourged the earth. It's a really upsetting movie, though. So I don't think I recommend it, even though it's a really interesting story. Here's a dumb one. Would you read another book by this author?
Yeah.
Asked and answered.
I was looking right away, what's the next book of hers? I just want it now.
If you got the chance to ask the author of this book one question, what would it be?
Oh gosh.
I mean,
there's so many things you could ask her about.
Yeah, I have one question. I betrayed it earlier.
What?
When will you be running for president?
Oh yeah. I would want to ask her where does she find the time? How does she have so many more hours in the day than I do?
I've heard her interviewed about this book. I didn't catch the full interview, but because she was super active in the recent presidential election. Thank God for her work in Georgia. She's essentially her leadership is the force that turned that state.
Yep.
Anyway, and she just worked on it all through the night. I don't think she sleeps.
Yeah,
and she was talking about emailing her editor at 3 a.m. and just please ignore the pings on your phone and your computer at the odd hours, and they just powered through it.
Wow.
Any questions for Mrs. Abrams?
I don't have a question. I just want to get involved with it's fairfight.com is their website.
Yep.
Because it is what they're trying to do to take away voting rights
throughout the country,
throughout the country.
Yeah.
But it's not going to stop
No.
so I want to get involved with that
Yeah.
actually.
Yep.
Make sure that
You
mean
can
while
follow them on Instagram. I do.
one of the questions she has is, have you ever felt like your voice didn't couldn't or you couldn't vote, or does anyone keep you from that? And I said, and I thought to myself, I have not experienced that, but I would like to work to make sure nobody else has to experience that either.
Right.
Because and that's where being an ally and making sure others have their voice, keep their voice from being silenced by people who want to control. Anyway.
Which character in the book would you most like to meet?
That was a good question. I mean, I guess Avery, but like, I don't know.
Betty before she gets
I
killed.
know, Betty.
And I'd say, Betty, don't do it.
Oh, how about the guy who saves all the memos? Betty's assistant or whatever.
Oh yeah, the nerd guy. I liked him. Yeah, I liked him.
I would like to meet the Chief Justice secretaries and just like sit and dish.
Oh, yeah.
because they know everything.
I want to meet the chief. Whatever, Roseman. What was her name?
Oh yeah,
yeah, she was cool.
Yeah, we
the
all agree
secretary.
that's the one I want to meet.
Is she a real person? I read something about this book where she had like a mentor that she wrote into the novel, so she's either maybe. I think that's the character. I could be totally wrong. But
I could
based
totally.
on a real
I
person.
totally believed
I'll try
when
and,
I was.
like, Google
I totally believed when I was reading this that was a real person of all the characters, because there was just so much intimate knowledge and connection and relationship, even though her character wasn't initially, but that character was so was on her side and was fighting for her, and so and stood up to Vance and was really in her court. And
yeah, I'll try and see if I can.
I totally believe that was a real person.
If I can find that out. So
all right. What places in the book would you most like to visit?
I forgot the places they went.
Yes, Teresa Wynn Roseborough is a real person.
That's cool.
Is she a real justice?
No.
Assistant U.S. Attorney General under Bill Clinton, and one of the first black women to make a partner at Sutherland, a major law firm in Georgia, where she was hired to work some years ago. Oh, so she is based on a real person that she knew.
She could be a justice.
Yeah,
it sounds like.
By now she
could be. Are you listening, President Biden?
By now she could be.
Well, I would like to go to her Georgia cabin. That sounded like a nice getaway.
Let's say the places we've been. Flop houses in DC.
Yeah.
No.
Justice Wynn's house.
I'd like to
Avery's
see the
apartment.
That might be cool.
The courts would be really cool.
Take a tour.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see the Capitol.
Yeah.
Like that's a trip for sure that we're gonna do someday. The other thing I want to do in DC is like I think it'd be super cool. We didn't go there in this book. To spend a week like going to all the Smithsonian.
I got through 9 of them in one day.
No,
and
that's too much for the brain.
It was way too much. In fact, I fell asleep for about a half hour in one of the little Asian museums on a lacquer chair that people were allowed to sit on, and my feet hurt. I didn't take time to eat. I had one day to be in DC to see as much as I could.
And you did it.
I didn't get through all of them. After a while, I started off with some of the bigger ones, like the fine arts and the aerospace, and then I'm like, okay, I got to skip the sections I'm not really interested in. Just go. I love the one they had one on African art, but it wasn't much. It was just like it must have just been an exhibit. But they have since then put together a full museum, Smithsonian museum, just dedicated to African American art. And at the time, they had a rotating exhibit from Frank Lloyd Wright's, one of his prefab houses. So that was really cool. That was the beginning of my love of his architecture. As a man, he was not a good person. But
James and I are supposed to go. Next year is our 10-year wedding anniversary. So James has been to DC, I think, twice. And he loves all that. So I've never been, but I would like to go. So he's very excited to take me around and show me all the things, and so I'm excited. And I want to go see the Amish.
The Amish?
Yeah. He's like, we could go to Amish country, and I was like, yes.
All right.
That sounds awesome.
Eat better, buy a quilt.
Yep, exactly.
I'll tell you, of the various memorials, the one that I was surprised had such an impact was the Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
Because it starts off like you're walking down this path and it's really, really like only an inch high. And then as you go at the angle and it builds and it builds and it builds. And by the time you get into the center and you're confronted with thousands and thousands of names and people on ladders trying to get rubbings of names that they know, that by the time you get to the other end of it, you're just like, wow. I mean, those were the names of people that never made it home. Not just people who died, just people who went missing.
Like POWs and stuff. I like this question because it's such a good title. What do you think of the book's title? I think it's good.
For a while, I was like, I don't get, and then I was like, well, duh, Katie. I was kind of waiting for it to be like, well, are they gonna say it? Or then I was like, oh no, it's because he's in a damn coma, you idiot.
Okay, the light's just now coming on.
We've all had that revelation now.
I didn't think it was literally while Justice sleeps.
Justice sleeps. They could have put an A in
No, I thought it was metaphorical.
Well, I did at first too, like Justice is blind, you know, that kind of thing.
That's kind of what I was expecting.
Well, because she has a blindfolded...
Yeah, it's a picture of Lady Justice right on the cover.
Yeah.
But it was like halfway through it, like a little light bulb went off, and I was like, "Oh, because he's in a coma. I get it."
See, that just figures. I get all the other connections, and I totally missed that one.
Well, you don't think about the title of a book really that
not
hard.
Not when you're in the middle of the book.
Yeah.
But I like this
one. Yeah, no, that was pretty good. That was it's
I couldn't put this one. I could not put this one down.
How well does it convey what the book is about? Real well.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Like. Very little. Yep. I
for those of us who actually paid attention. Yeah, I guess it was.
When I was telling people what our book this month was, I'm like, unputdownable. But an object in motion tends to stay in motion.
Exactly.
An object at rest, so I put it down at some point, and woof.
Yeah, I listened to the first like third of it, and then I stopped for like a week. And then I was like, oh no, I gotta get back. And it was just like a little mountain that I had climbed and like jump off of, and I was like, I gotta get back there so I can get in that little mindset again.
I climbed back up that mountain.
Yeah.
What do you think the author's purpose was in writing this book? What ideas were they trying to get across? Well,
don't trust the government because they're all a bunch of liars. No, not quite. No, not that. But
no, I think that there's a balance of like bring things into the light and and like care. If you do so carefully, like justice is going to prevail. Because once the court heard her, like there was no turning away from it.
That's true.
I think it did a good job of portraying the skepticism that you can bring to the judicial system, you know, like because even though she laid out this case against the president, everybody's still like, you know, he's probably going to get off, you know, until he can.
Right.
But before there was undeniable evidence of him being a murderer, the people still, they're like, well, the wheels of justice turn slowly and he's probably never going to see justice.
Exactly.
So I think it was a good illustration of shining light on the background. Also, it was very educational of how the courts work.
And don't stop trying. Just keep trying and fighting because there's lots of times where I thought, gosh, how is she ever going to win? You know, everything is against her.
I mean, at the very end, I was like, she's dead. Because, like, what's his name? Lee comes to, like, see her and zip ties her to the chair, and you're like, oh, no!
Wait, are
you going to end with her dying?
You're saying that just...
That totally sucks.
Are you lying to the listeners right now?
Yeah, I'm making up intrigue.
It ended and she died.
Yeah, she died. No, she didn't die.
Now you have to read it to the end to see which one of us is telling the truth.
I read this article. It's called Stacey Abrams' latest novel, While Justice Sleeps, was rejected by publishers twice.
I saw that headline.
It is from OprahDaily.com, but it's an interview with her where she talks about how she came to write the book. And apparently she wrote it about 10 years ago and was saved in a file on her computer for a long time before she went back and brushed it up for publishing, because I think just in the last year or so her name has become such a household name that people were like, you have a book, let me publish your book. So it was really interesting.
But it is very fresh. It feels like it could have been about the last president we had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she probably went back and polished some things and changed some things and made it more applicable to like today's, political climate. But
she can see the future.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have
exactly.
a criminal in the White House. Yeah, because I don't might be in that same article, but I think I heard a little bit of an NPR interview. She talked about all the things she has in works.
Yes.
Like, I think she has a young adult novel. She has a children's book.
Yeah, she's like, I just want to try writing one of each.
Yeah. And please do.
Yeah.
Please do. If you could hear the same story from another person's point of view, who would you choose? I think you kind of mentioned.
Yeah, I would like to have heard it from Avery's point of view.
I when in previewing this question, I pondered a little bit if it would be interesting to hear it from like the chief's point of view or Agent Lee's. Just because they'd be in our seat,
You're
while
right.
we were
I feel
trying
like
to figure it out.
I feel like there was too much of a bigger picture, and if it was from
For
her,
it to be a limited,
because
this wasn't truly from one point of view.
No,
it did switch points of view.
There's lots of different. There's so many different things going on that you almost needed different voices to give you pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, it was like I was trying to think of like what you'd call this one because it wasn't quite third person omniscient.
I was reading some reviews, and this one person said that they think that it actually switched at a couple points from like omniscient to like there might have been some like first person perspective at some points before it quickly switches back.
Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah.
Like well done in revealing the story to us. Did this book seem realistic? Yes.
I mean, I would like to say no.
Scary so.
But yes,
so scary.
Well, yeah. I'd hope that 300 people weren't sent to slaughter for medical research, but unfortunately it's very plausible to me.
Yeah.
How well do you think the author built the world in the book? Well, I mean,
I totally believed it.
Her, but she was taking it from the world we live in.
Yeah, and that she has experienced firsthand.
Yep. So she did a good job of taking what is real and teaching us about it.
Yeah, and learning about it because like I said, I didn't know anything about it. So, I think she did a good job in giving you kind of like a crash course into how things work at the same time of telling you the story.
Mm-hmm. That's all my questions.
Okay.
The end. Well, I'm glad you tried out this genre.
Yeah.
I really, really like this book.
Yeah, I don't think I will be wandering in the political thriller section of Barnes & Noble, but, if it's next to the romance section, I might accidentally get over an aisle, but I did enjoy it. I
think you should read A Time to Kill.
Okay. I like a mystery, like the intrigue mystery kind of, figuring out what's going on kind of thing. So I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was I like that the summary kind of called it, because I kept calling it political thriller, but they just called it suspense fiction.
Yeah, suspense.
Yeah,
that's a good word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think our next book is Karen's picks. So, what are we reading, Karin?
A book by Sofia Segovia, The Murmur of Bees.
The Murmur of Bees. Okay.
So there's a lot of stories out there with bees in the title.
There are a lot of books about bees.
There's the Bee Hotel. There's some other bees.
Oh, there's lots
of bees.
I think we're all very worried about the bees, though. So
this is from a beguiling voice in Mexican fiction comes an astonishing novel, her first to be translated into English.
She's beguiling.
About a mysterious child with the power to change a family's history in a country on the verge of revolution.
Okay, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah. It has to do with a little boy who is found covered in a blanket of bees, but he's not harmed. Okay. They are protecting him.
Okay, because it felt like a horror story.
No.
Yeah,
what's
the name
of that
movie?
Candyman. Oh no! So say it again.
Some people think.
Sorry.
Okay, some people think he's kissed by the devil, but he is adopted into a family.
This is very Candyman adjacent. There's 2 more times. I'm not going to say it anymore.
But they give him the ability to I gotta catch my thought because I totally off. He has visions of what's yet to come, both beautiful and dangerous.
Cool.
And he's followed by his protective swarm of bees, but it's by Sofia Segovia.
This sounds like a fantastic book. Yeah.
This one is 471 pages.
It says it's 14 hours and 20 minutes long.
Mine says 7 hours and 33 minutes.
Do you have it set at like 2 times speed?
No.
This says 14 hours and 20 minutes.
Maybe your copy is
typical time to read. Oh, this is the length of the audiobook.
Oh, so much.
I don't know why that would be so much faster. Is it twice as fast? Maybe it is.
To listen, like to read it out loud.
Or to just, read the physical book.
Yeah.
Or read
Depends
the text.
on your speed.
Yeah.
I've become a very slow reader. Like I was keeping track of my time last night, and I was like 2 minutes a page, which is that's slow.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of big print.
I kind of consume books lately. I take about 3 to 4 days, some maybe 5. I'm like going through
like with physical
more than
copies or
no audio blend with Kindle.
You do read it along.
No, if I had to read a physical page book, it would. I couldn't do that. I have to have my hands busy, and I can't be holding a page.
No, that's easy. I can do that.
No.
Yeah. I have book friends, a book hug. I also figured out you could use clips.
Yep.
And
I have like a big
but then
clip.
It doesn't matter. I still have to stop what I'm doing to turn the page, and
That's
I read faster.
A Kindle or something.
And I read faster than I'd always be stopping to.
But you have to move the page on the Kindle too.
No, when you do the audio book, it's synced and it changes the pages for you.
It's like the chime on the
Ding.
the
Turn
book
the
on tape. Yep. Ding, and it turns it for you.
Yes.
Oh, that's spiffy. Yeah.
Well, anybody read? Well, Karin apparently read a whole lot else.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I have to go back because I read this right away in the first week, and then I've read like 4 or 5 books since then. I've got a couple. I'm going to recommend a memoir called The Ugly Cry by Daniela Henderson. It has to do with her family, and it's kind of a memoir that's kind of sad and tragic, but also funny. She has a sense of humor in how she looks upon things and how the lessons she's learned along the way. And then the other book, because I'm going to recommend a couple. I just finished a book, a mystery. It's in a series, but it was actually pretty good, and it's got some romance in it. Called The Girl in Cabin 13.
Oh, I've heard of that. It was good.
By A.J. Rivers.
Mm-hmm. And it's a series?
It's a series.
Right.
I just downloaded the second book, but I can't get it to sync up with the audio, even though they go upgrade.
That sounds frustrating, so now I'm out.
No. I upgraded the audio from their book app, and now they're like, I don't see it. You want to spend more?
Audible is also being weird today, too.
So I'll try again tomorrow.
Because I kept trying to buy more credits today, and it just went in this like circular loop.
It's in my Audible library, even though I bought it from, the Kindle app. But I'll try tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They might need a day.
So those are my recommendations for so far.
Very good. Mm-hmm. I'm excited about the book you chose. I mentioned this book last time. It took me a while to keep coming back to it because my focus was really on the book we were reading. Roxane Gay's Hunger. It is not for the weak of heart. It takes some focus to keep your eyes on what she has to tell you. It's about her experience in her body. She is she calls herself a person of size. She is 6'3" and big lady. And her experience in her body, and it will turn your heart.
Oh, it's a memoir.
Yeah, it will turn your heart and make you more mindful of how you look at and talk about people. I was crying through the entire book. But it was beautiful, and I've enjoyed her. Like, I've listened to her be interviewed throughout the years, and I bought Bad Feminist, but I've never read it. It's just sitting on the shelf. I'm gonna blow through all of her books. Like, they're not light though. They're not like the memoir you're recommending.
No. I had an experience with somebody today. Okay, so we were at Sprouts, and we had our cart, and we're over by like the dairy section, and we're not in the middle of the aisle, and this obnoxious woman who happened to be skinny, is like, excuse me. And she tries like, and she had plenty of space, and she looks back, and it says, I tried to get past you. And I said, you had plenty of room, and she's like, but she was going to come back and fight me. And
it's her problem. She was probably hungry.
Yeah.
I like to say she was hangry, but she didn't look like it. And it turns out we got right in front of her. We got right behind her at the checkout, she was just glaring at. She kept looking at me and my size and what was in my basket instead of looking at my mother-in-law who was holding the basket. And I was like, wow, judgmental.
What a lovely human being.
If my mother-in-law had not been with me, I would have said some pretty ugly words to her about being fatphobic.
Her and lock her in a room and make her listen to Roxanne's book. It's only like 5 or 6 hours, so I don't think we'd get in like a lot of legal trouble.
Just a little bit.
I don't.
Yeah. What's a half-day kidnapping?
Right.
See, how long does it count for kidnapping? How many hours?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. I mean, if you hold someone up for 10 minutes, is that really kidnapping? If you hold them for like an hour,
yeah. Where's the line? Yeah,
I want to know the legal definition. Not really. If anything happens, not really.
Well, her problems were her problems, and I'm sorry she brought them to you because you're not.
I was holding back because my mother-in-law was there.
Person.
But I just had some very ugly things to say about her attitude.
Yeah.
And the way she was treated. Because I thought, I want to just tell her what a sad person you are, that you are so uncomfortable in your own body that you are judging somebody else's. Mm-hmm. So.
Yep. She sounds awful. Anything to recommend, Katie?
I have not read anything else, but I have like a line of books in my Goodreads. They have like books you've read and books you want to read. And I have like a backlog of books that I am looking forward to reading. One of them being, I loved reading Rebecca so much. And I was like, I should read other Daphne du Maurier books. What I did not know is that she wrote The Birds.
No way.
The source material for the movie The Birds.
I did not know that.
Really?
I've seen that movie many times and I enjoy it. And I was like, well, now I'm excited to read it. I think it's a short story because it's in a book called The Birds and Other Stories. So I don't know how long the book is itself, but now I'm very excited to read it. So
that's like one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock books.
The Jamaica Inn got recommended on Audible for me recently. So I was also kind of like thinking about going more into her book.
Yeah, she's got a lot of them. But yeah,
she was a
Birds.
prolific author.
I was excited to read that. So, so there's on Audible a dramatized version of it. It's only 56 minutes long.
I love those.
Well, for really 56 minutes, you could listen to the dramatized, or you could watch the movie. It's the same thing. But I would like to read the book.
We went to Bodega Bay on a vacation, over 10 years ago. And we went out to, there's a fort. I'm not going to remember the name of the fort. And you have to drive along the winding cliff roads. Mm-hmm. And there were these turkey vultures doing like
dive bombing?
Not dive bombing, but like swooping off people's windshields.
Whoa.
And so the person in front of me, like they didn't go off my windshield, but the person in front of me was swerving and almost took us all out. And so I'm like, we just lived the Birds.
Yeah, we've seen it.
So then at the hotel we were staying at, they had a copy of the Birds, so we watched it that night.
Yeah.
That's
great.
On my great movie.
That's on my list of things that I am excited to read.
That sounds good.
If I read it, by next month, I'll
give us a review. Excellent.
Well, I think that is the end of our episode for tonight. So, you can catch us in our normal podcast episode that comes out the first Monday of every month, on our website, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. And then mid-month for July, we will talk about the Murmur of Bees. So
say that really fast.
The murmur.
Because bees almost sound like they're murmuring, aren't they? Don't they?
Okay, well, we'll see you guys then.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye.